Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. As the queues continue to grow at filling stations across Nigeria, renowned social commentator, poet and lecturer Professor Nyanya Oshindare has said that the cause is not the payment of subsidy, but mismanagement of it. Professor Oshindare, who spoke with Channels Television today in an exclusive interview, said that the incoming government should prioritize house cleaning, especially making the petroleum industry accountable to the nation.
There is no subsidy. It is they who say there is subsidy, because the World Bank says you have to sell petroleum products at a certain price, and they cannot really dictate for us. Our problem is not subsidy. Our problem is the management. Subsidy. What about the money that's been stolen? It is corruption. The billions that were discovered to have been stolen, if they had been well used, then we wouldn't have had this crisis in the supply of PMS and the supply of gas in Nigeria. So it is Nigerians deserve to enjoy their natural resources. That is not what is making us poor. Okay, you say subsidy, you remove subsidy. Oh yes, oil is a liter of petrol is now going to cost how much? That's not the issue. The issue is, where will the money be going?
Return to security now. The Borno State Governor, Kashim Shettima, says that there is a likelihood that the over 200 girls kidnapped by Boko Haram from the government secondary school, Chibok, in Borno State in April 2014 are being held in bunkers inside the Sambisa forest. He's asking the military to fish out members of the Boko Haram sect and liberate the girls. According to him, insurgency had claimed over 300 lives in the northeast part of the country, contrary to the 13,000 figure being reported in the media, with Borno State alone losing over 70,000 people. The governor, who was represented on the occasion, who was resident at the Borno Elders Forum by Dr. Bulama Gubio, said the insurgents have operated in the large expanse of the forest for many years unchallenged, and they were able to build a bunker large enough to accommodate many people in the area. Meanwhile, the Borno State government says that more than $20 million would be needed to resettle those displaced by Boko Haram's violence in their homelands. Alhaji Kashim Shettima told a delegation of the International Committee of the Red Cross, led by its president, Mr. Pt.2, in Maiduguri, that the state government needs the assistance of the federal government and international donor agencies to rehabilitate the internally displaced persons. The governor laments that since the displacement of many residents from their communities by Boko Haram militants, the state government had shouldered the responsibility of feeding IDPs through the State Emergency Management Agency. He admits, however, that military troops had liberated most of the communities under the control of Boko Haram in the state, but adds that the government and IDPs have found it difficult to go back to their homes and go about their normal lives owing to security reports that most of the roads and streets leading to the affected communities and the farmlands are not safe, as improvised explosive device and landmines have been planted by the fleeing terrorists. The president of the ICRC, Mr. More, said that they have come, he and his delegation, to the state to personally see the IDPs and hear from them, particularly about their condition. He said this might inform the action of the organization to considerably increase its humanitarian gesture as a result of the renewed attacks and killings by the sect. ECOWAS leaders have paid glowing tribute to President Goodluck Jonathan for his contribution to regional peace, security, and overseeing the conduct of successful elections in Nigeria. Speakers at the opening of the 47th Ordinary Session of ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government in Accra, Ghana, praised President Jonathan for conceding victory to President-elect Muhammadu Buhari in the presidential election in Nigeria. The one-day summit was Jonathan's valedictory appearance at the regional summit as President of Nigeria before the May 29th inauguration. ECOWAS Chairman, President John Mahama of Ghana, opened the torrent of tributes when he described Jonathan's conduct in the aftermath of the elections as a personal show of mature statesmanship. Now, the U.S. President Barack Obama has made it clear that America will participate in the May 29th inauguration of President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. A statement from the White House says the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will be leading a delegation to the inauguration. The other members of the delegation, according to the statement, will be announced later. U.S. President Barack Obama has repeatedly declared his support for Nigeria's democratic progress and has promised to continue to back every move that will make it grow stronger. Mr. Kerry was in Nigeria a few weeks before the presidential elections. The 6th ordinary session of the 3rd Pan-African Parliament has begun in Midrand near Johannesburg, South Africa. Xenophobia, migrant deaths and insecurity are some of the issues being discussed at this meeting with the African Union, aligned theme of women empowerment. The special guest at the opening session was Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who did not stop enlisting the continent's string of challenges. He suggested that good governance, bridge building beyond lip service, intra-African trade, jobs for youth and tackling roots of insecurity will bring desired good for Africa. Our correspondent, Pt.2, reports.
May your souls rest in peace.
A moment of silence for needless African deaths through xenophobia and migration by boats to Europe. This, after an impassioned speech by the outgoing President of the Parliament, Honorable Bethel Lamadi.
Pan-African Parliament therefore calls on all member states of the African Union to develop a continental response to the problem of youth unemployment and to sensitize our youths on the risk of illegal migration. Our leaders must develop policies that curb poverty and ensure an equitable utilization and distribution of national income for the benefit of all citizens.
Mr. President, while we note these challenges, we cannot stop but acknowledge that there have also been positive developments in the continent. We have recently witnessed successful elections where the will of the people was demonstrated freely. In this regard, allow me, Mr. President, to congratulate your own country and the people of Nigeria for your recently held peaceful election.
Various other members from the various regions made presentations and new members were sworn in. The high point was the arrival of the special guest of the Parliament, President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, who stressed on solidarity among African countries beyond words.
In truth, we have talked for far too long about the need for solidarity, both to seize the opportunities before us and to confront the internal and external forces that hold back our progress.
He also touched on doing away with foreign aid, boosting intra-African trade, building bridges across member nations, tackling insecurity, unemployment, and doing more to promote women empowerment.
We must incorporate our youth in our development agenda. We must open our boundaries in order to be able to industrialize our continent, in order to be able to create the jobs that our young people desperately need. Our potential as an African continent will also never be fully accomplished if we do not acknowledge and incorporate our women into our development agenda.
A planned press conference with President Kenyatta just never happened as he left immediately. But along with the caucuses, the intergenerational dialogue sessions, and the election of new members of the Bureau of the Parliament in the next few days, former South African President Thabo Mbeki is expected to present the African Union high-level panel report on illicit financial flows from Africa on Thursday for debate. The Parliament ends on May 29. From Midrand, South Africa, Pt.2, Channels Television News.
And more from the ECOWAS Forum, where President Goodluck Jonathan is making his last appearance as president of Nigeria. The president declared that democracy has come to stay in West Africa. In his valedictory speech at the 47th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, the president urged regional leaders to support the incoming administration in Nigeria, led by President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. Jonathan says he feels deeply satisfied that the tree of democracy planted in Nigeria and the sub-region had taken root and blossoming. He said recent elections held in Ghana and Senegal were largely peaceful without controversy, while polls in Benin, Sierra Leone and Togo have shown tremendous progress in consolidating democracy in the region. He expressed hope that democracy would continue to bear abundant fruit in the region under the watchful guidance and nurturing of the regional leaders. The trial of Aminu Oguche and 5 others accused of complicity in the multiple explosions that killed scores of people in Nyanya, a satellite town in Abuja, has opened at a federal high court in Abuja. The prosecution witness told the court how the 6 accused persons were arrested and taken into custody. However, attempts by the witness to tell the court about a deportation order against one of the accused persons, Aminu Oguche, was overruled by the judge because of his inability to produce the said document in court. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafor, reports.
After several adjournments, trial of Aminu Oguche and 5 others accused of carrying out the bomb blast in Nyanya, Abuja in 2014 has opened. But the trial started with an initial hitch after the modalities of shielding the witnesses from public view. However, the matter was eventually resolved, and the first prosecution witness, identified as an investigative officer, took the witness stand to give his testimony in the case. Besides telling the court how all the accused persons were arrested, he drew the attention of the court to a deportation order for the first accused person, Aminu Oguche, in 2011. However, the lawyer to Oguche opposed his testimony on the ground that it will be prejudicial to the case and the fact that in law, the witness cannot testify orally about a document not tendered in court. His argument was rejected by the prosecution. However, Justice Ahmed Mohammed agreed with the defense.
They kept to their promise that they were going to open their case, and actually they have opened their case. And that is it.
So are you satisfied with the way the case is going so far?
Yeah, very satisfied, especially when the judge overruled them on the issue of deportation order, which we believe will be prejudicial on the ground that, one, we never prepared for that. Secondly, the order was not placed before the court, and it was only trying to give evidence of what is contained in a written document. So we took objection, and His Lordship rightly sustained our objection.
The case was adjourned to the 20th of May for continuation of trial. Aminu Oguche and 5 others are standing trial for allegedly carrying out the bomb attack in Nyanya, a suburb in the nation's capital, on the 14th of April 2014. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, the Attorney General of the Federation, Mohammed Adoke, directs the Chief Justice of Bayelsa State to swear in River State Governor-elect Nyesom Wike to join us again.